Hello, welcome back to the channel. This is a channel where we give you reviews, playthroughs, unboxings. We generally like to talk a load of bollocks about tabletop gaming in general. And in this video, we're going to be talking about a horror themed board game, which is aptly named Horrified. And in this game, you'll be wandering around a town trying to chase after different monsters, trying to put out fires basically, that will allow you to win the game. So in this video, we're going to be giving you a very brief overview of the rules. We'll tell you what we do like, what we don't like. Then we'll come back and we'll tell you whether or not Horrified is worth your time and bother today and in the future. So remember, if you are newer, then please consider subscribing to this channel. If you ain't already, hit the like button and all that bullshit. And we'll see you after this. Bollocks. So, Horrified, how'd you play this game? So you're probably wondering why we didn't actually bother doing a review of this over Halloween, and I don't know, just because I couldn't be bothered really. So in this game, you'll be trying to defeat monsters as you go around picking up stuff, right? There's a different objective dependent on which monsters are in play, and once you've fulfilled that objective, then you win the game, right? Each player will get a hero. Each hero has a special ability. You might want to pick up the scientist, which allows you to add 1 strength to any item that you use. You might want to pick up the courier, who allows you to place your hero in any space with another hero. You might be able to pick up the archaeologist. He allows you to pick up items from an adjacent space. You might end up with the mayor, who doesn't have a special ability, but they do get to take 5 actions. All the other characters will be able to take 3 or 4 actions. So you'll pick up one of these wonderful heroes and you will get a perk card to go with that hero, right? These are sort of game breaking special abilities. So you might end up with the hurry card. It allows you to move each hero up to 2 spaces. Lovely. Or you might end up with the overstock card, and it says each player draws and places 1 item from the item bag. That's bloody super. Or you might have the late into the night card, which says the current player takes 2 additional actions. Oh my god, I'm pissing my pants. So you'll choose the monster that you got. There's a wide variety of monsters. You've got the mummy, the wolfman, Frankenstein and the bride of Frankenstein, Dracula, all the universal monsters that you expect to see in a game like this are in here. So you'll set up the monster according to the monster card that you've chosen, and on your turn you'll do several things. You can move to an adjacent space along a lit path. You can't go in water, right, because it's contaminated with a load of floating turds. No, it's not really, it's just reserved for the creature from the Black Lagoon. You can guide a villager from your space to the space you're going to, right? And if you can get the villager to the space which is listed on their token, then you get to draw a perk card. That's bloody good, isn't it? You can use a special action on your hero card. You can pick up any number of items from the space you're in. There's different types of items and they're used for different things. Items are used for advancing tasks and defeating the monsters. One of the actions is actually advancing the task on the monster, right? You will have to look at the different type of monster and it will tell you what you need to discard, whether it be different colors or different numbers that add up to a certain number. You'll be able to share items if you want to, if you're on the same space, or if you're in the same space as a monster, you can try and defeat them. There's specific requirements to defeat a monster on the monster card. We'll get into that in a little bit, so don't get your knickers in a twist. So once everyone's taken their allotted number of actions that's listed on their card, then it'll be the monster phase, right? The first thing you're going to do is you're going to draw a monster card. It will tell you the amount of items that you're going to draw from the bag. These items have got a name and they've got a value which comes into play when you're defeating the monster. So most of the monsters will require you to discard these items up to a certain value, right? Then the card will tell you to do something, right? So for instance, you might draw the enthralled, which tells you to place Lucy at the theatre, which is a villager, right? You might have the on the move card and it says move the frenzy marker to the next monster. A frenzy marker means that the monster acts twice, right? So you've got to be very careful. The A, that you don't step on this thing when you leave it on the floor. B, that you don't activate monsters with the frenzy marker on there because they might bite you in the bum. Or you might have the hunt is on. It says if no hero has the hunted emblem, which is a special token you can get from different game effects, give it to the current player, move the wolfman 3 spaces towards the hero with the hunted emblem. So a lot of these cards are tailored specifically to the monsters you've got in play, and if they're not in play, then you don't activate them, do you? So the third thing you're going to do is you're going to look at the bottom of the card. If the symbols that are there relate to any of the monsters that are in play, then you'll A, move that monster the number of spaces that's dictated on the card, and then you'll roll a die and they'll do some bloody damage, right? So if you roll the exclamation mark, the monster's power is activated, and that's always bad. And if the damage symbol, the thing that does that is activated, then the monster will do some damage. So if the hero is damaged by the monster, you'll have to discard an item card for each hit. And if a hero is defeated, which means they can't or don't want to discard any item tokens, then the monster's terror level is increased by 1, and if this terror level ever gets to a certain point, then the game will be lost. So again, you've got to be very careful that you don't allow the terror level to get out of control like you do your life. So if you manage to accomplish the task that's on the monster card and defeat all the monsters as well, then you will win the game. If you don't, then you're screwed and you lose. So what do we like about Horrified? So the first thing that we like about this game is there's a wide selection of monsters available in the game. I thought they were all hiding under my bed, but no, they're in here. So you might end up choosing the creature from the Black Lagoon. So to defeat this monster, you have to first locate his watery retreat. And the way you do this is that whenever you advance this task, you move the boat a certain number of spaces forward, right? And when you get into a space, you have to discard a certain number of tokens, yeah? This geezer can use the water spaces to move, unlike you. Remember we said you can't get in there because of all the floating turds that are in there? Yeah, it's true. Or you might end up playing with Dracula. Not like that, right? You will have to find all of 4 Dracula's coffins before you can defeat him, and then you'll have to go into his lair and kick his ass. There's also the Mummy, Frankenstein, the Bride of Frankenstein, the Wolfman, and the Invisible Man. I've seemed to have lost the Invisible Man card here. That's a joke, right? I know, shit in it. So yeah, there's a wide variety of monsters, and yeah, if you've got the second game of this, which is, I can't remember what it's called now, but it's like the same game essentially, but it gives you extra monsters to play with. They could have released that as a sort of an add-on pack, but they didn't. So yeah, it's a bit of a bump. So the second thing that we like about this, and we've already talked about this actually, so is the fact that the monsters do have thematic abilities, right? The fact that you've got to go and find Dracula's coffins before you go and kill him, so you've got to get rid of all the places that he could actually hide from you before you go and kill him is good. And also the creature from the Black Lagoon uses the water spaces. Yeah, it's great. Like the Wolfman, you have to create and administer an antidote to change him back into a normal human being, if that's at all possible, you know. And in the Invisible Man one, you have to locate proof of his misdeeds so you can apprehend him, right? So all of these monsters have thematic abilities that link in well with the theme, obviously, otherwise they wouldn't be thematic. And yeah, we really like that, so you should too. So the third reason that we really like Horrified is that it is easy to play, right? Especially for families and groups with young children. This isn't a particularly complex game. You're going to be moving around the map, picking stuff up, and then going out with your baseball bat trying to beat in a monster's head. And kids seem to like that quite a lot. We played this quite a bit with my children, and they were clamoring to try out all the different monster types. They seemed to find it quite tense when the monster was getting close, and they did enjoy the battles with the monster as well. So it's not a complex game by any stretch of the imagination. It works really well for families and people who have access to small children, and people who play games with small kids. Yes, that's great. So what don't we like about Horrified? So the first thing that we don't like about this game is a lot of the game revolves around waiting for the correct tile to come out of the bag. You're going to be replenishing the tiles that are on the board by drawing them out of the bag. This is a random process, and where you need specific sets of tiles to defeat the monster and advance the tasks, a lot of this game is just sitting there thinking, I hope a blue tile comes out this round for that location which I am near, and a red one comes out for somewhere right across the other end of the board. So there's a lot of time just sitting there doing this, twiddling your dildos, your thumbs, and sometimes, especially young kids, or me particularly, because I've got the attention span of a tsetse fly, there's just seems to be this sort of void in this game where you're just sitting there thinking about how many eggs you're going to eat for breakfast the next day, you know what I mean? Well, not eggs for me, I'm going to be eating tofu. So the second thing that we don't like about Horrified is that where you're going to be drawing a random card on the monster's turn, and this card will signify whether or not certain monsters are going to be activated. Sometimes you may not have any monsters activated at all for ages, and on the flip side of this, you might have the monsters that are on the board activated like 3 or 4 times in a row. Yeah, so it's a bit uneven. It's the success and failure of this game is based on a random card draw and a random tile draw as well. So we'll amalgamate the two together and say that this game might be just a little bit too random for my taste. So the third thing It's not that I don't like it, it's just that I'm not really enamoured by it. It's the aesthetics of the game. I don't really like the colour scheme. I don't really like the artwork, to be honest with you. It's not the greatest thing in the world. And I know that you got people out there screaming at me going, well, it's to do with the Universal Monsters. I get that. I wouldn't have bought the game otherwise, would I, you donut? But I just don't like the mix of blues and yellows, and the colours that they've used don't seem to complement each other on the palette, right? I sound like I'm a sort of wannabe Picasso, but I just don't like it. And that is that. So to summarise, is Horrified worth your time and bother today and in the future? So we're going to say yes, it's not worth your time and bother today as such, but we would say that this is one of the best games that you could play during the Halloween season, right? We'd say that this game works fantastically well for families or groups with children because it's easy to play, it's easy to teach, and it's quite exciting as well, and it's heavily thematic, and that works really well with kids. Yeah, it does feel a little bit empty at times when you're relying on the right tiles coming out of the bag and the right cards coming out of the deck. This is without doubt a top draw game for Halloween. I'm just not convinced that it's a great game for the other 364 days of the year. So there you go, that's Horrified. Remember, if you are new here, consider subscribing to this channel if you ain't already. Hit the like button, leave a comment and all that bollocks, and we'll see you next time.